So, good evening and welcome to this forum. It's coming to you live from KTV studios at Bethany Lutheran College in Mankato. We will hear from the candidates for the Nicollet County District 3 County Commissioner. The forum is being recorded and will air on KTV's public access channels, online at accessktv.org, on the St. Peter League of Women Voters website and Facebook page. My name is Harriet Mason. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of St. Peter, and I will be your moderator. Assisting me will be Linda Whitty. Lynn Solo is our timer, and Cindy Olson will take your questions for the candidates by emailing lwvstpeter@lwvmn.org. The county position opened at the death of former occupant Denny Kemp last year when he passed away. The primary election will be February 8th, and the general election will be April 12th. District 3 encompasses precincts 1, 2, and 3 in North Mankato. Precincts 1 and 2 comprise lower North Mankato. Precinct 3 is part of Upper North Mankato. If you're uncertain which precinct you belong to, please contact the City of North Mankato. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan volunteer organization that encompasses informed and active participation of candidates. The League never supports or opposes political candidates or individuals in any election. Questions tonight were gathered from the public and from League members. You may also email your questions now to, again, lwvstpeter@lwvmn.org. We will not ask questions that are unclear, of a personal nature, and not related to the office, or are hostile or meant to make a statement rather than gather information. All questions become the property of League of Women Voters. Candidates for the County Commission position is alphabetical order is Mark Dehen, Kenneth DeWitte, and David Haack. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to make their opening statement and 2 minutes to answer each question. A timer will hold up a sign at 15 seconds left, and again when time runs out. Each candidate may have 1 30-second rebuttal. To do that, if you would wait till all three of you answer a question, hold up your rebuttal sign, and but you're only allowed 1 through the whole thing. Okay. Can you see the timer signs?
Yes, we can. Yes.
You can't miss them. Good. Okay, we're going to start with opening statements. We'll start in alphabetical order. Mr. Dehen, followed by DeWitte and Mr. Haack.
All right. Very good. Good evening. I'm Mark Dehen. I am excited to run for the office of County Commissioner for Nicollet County Precinct 3. Nicollet County has always enjoyed strong representation from the city of North Mankato. We've had a great collaborative relationship over the last decade or so. And so it's really an opportunity to continue that strong leadership and go forward. My 12 years of experience as mayor and the number of experiences that I've had prior to that have given me strong leadership skills, given me great experience with community events and community engagement. And I think that those skills will provide both the citizens of North Mankato with great advocacy and provide the county board with great insight into the events occurring in North Mankato as well as in the greater Mankato area, as I've been deeply engaged for the last decade or plus. So, with that, I ask for your vote on February 8th and again on April 12th. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Kenny DeWitte. I live up in Upper North Mankato, not far from Mayor Dehen as we speak here this evening. Live on Hodgson Road, and that's in the Schaefer's subdivision, or Schaefer's addition. Back in 2006, I was elected to the North Mankato City Council for a 4-year term. Continued to run several times after that, was never given the opportunity to be re-elected, but I've always had an interest in continuing my political aspirations within the county and within the city. And so I knew of Dennis Kemp. He was our IT man at North Mankato City Hall when I was on the city council. And Denny was always a good acquaintance, helped me with a few of my little side projects, and he was a good IT guy, I have to admit. He knew his stuff. When I was growing up, computer technology at Lila High School was very, very marginal, if non-existent at all. So knowing Denny and the job he did for the county and knowing the outlie of our county, I had an opportunity to volunteer, help build a building in Lafayette for a friend this past fall, spent 25 trips up to Lafayette, got to see a lot of county roads, got to see the infrastructure of our county, and I just thought it'd be a blessing to try and replace Dennis on that level, so here I am.
Good evening. I'm Dave Haack. I'd like to thank Mayor Dehen first off for saying the strong representation from Nicollet County, being a county commissioner, District 3 for 12 years. I hope I had something to do with that. I decided not to run 5 years ago, just had some things going on in the family, an elderly father, an elderly aunt, never thinking I'd have the opportunity to run again. With the unfortunate passing of Denny Kemp, I thought this would be a good time to get re-involved and continue on the work I was doing as a prior county commissioner. I was also with the city of North Mankato for 31 years, most of those serving as park superintendent, and now I'm a small business owner. Spent all my life in District 3. I'm living 3 blocks away from where I grew up in North Mankato, so I feel I've got a pretty good handle on what's going on, at least in District 3 and my past experience with the county as a whole.
Okay, now we start our question and answer period. The first question is actually a 2-part question, and it was submitted by a member of the community. And we will start with Mr. Haack, then Mr. DeWitte, and Mr. Dehen. Okay, the question in 2 parts. How might the county board and the public communicate most efficiently? And how do you plan to involve citizens in the decision-making process in our county?
Well, the easiest thing to do is have residents contact their commissioner and let them know what they're thinking. Serving as a county commissioner, there was not a lot of contact from residents. We're always available. We're in the district, so you see us on the street. We've got our phone numbers and email there. So, that's the best way. If you get some time, watch the board meetings on the TV, or if you get a chance, come over and participate in the board meetings.
Mr. DeWitte.
Yes, my feelings are, and I have to give North Mankato credit, they put out one beautiful newspaper or newsletter every quarter, and Mr. Dehen here, Mayor Dehen, does a beautiful job. He fills a full page himself, and I think our our Nicollet County commissioners, they do put out a newsletter, but I think it needs to be given to the people or presented to the people more often, or on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, or however it is. It may come on a quarterly basis now, but it's like boy, you know, where was this last time around? You know, you looked for it, you didn't find it, you didn't see it. This last time now I saw one, and boy, I'm going, this is all right, and it's the first one I've seen in some time. So, but you got to have that communication circle there. Yes, we have the television and we have our other means of communication. Like David said, you know, yep, we're out there in public, you know, we're as accessible as anybody else, so we're out there, come and approach us.
Mr.
I agree with both the other candidates. Certainly approachability at the grocery store, at church, wherever is always a great way of getting some personal interaction. I know over the last decade with the city of North Mankato, we've gone to, as was mentioned, we've increased our weekly e-newsletter. We have our quarterly or biannual paper newsletters that we send out. But we've also improved our presence on social media, both Facebook and some of the other social media applications. We've made significant efforts to improve outreach with community meetings, gatherings to gather information from invested parties. Certainly there are public hearings on specific issues at the city council meetings. And I think any of those strategies could be utilized more fully by the county to try and improve participation with the public. Certainly the advent of Zoom and closed circuit TVs like we're doing tonight with KTV provides people access to see the meetings, perhaps participate in those meetings, but it's a way of trying to have greater outreach so that the public is more aware of the issues that are being faced by the county commissioners and the choices they're making and why those arguments are being made towards those decisions that are being made.
Thank you. Question number 2 also comes from a resident of this district. What do you see as Nicollet County's environmental vulnerabilities, and what steps, if any, would you take to address them, including ways the county could encourage area businesses and residents to decrease their carbon footprint?
Well, a lot of the things that they've been doing in that would be with the recycling center. They partnered with the city of North Mankato years ago on the recycling center in North Mankato. As part of that, they've got recycling bins set up in some of the smaller communities throughout the county to take care of things like that. I believe in the county parks they've got recycling and that set up. The rest of it, I think I just have to take a look and see a little bit more of what's going on currently and make a decision from that point.
Ms. DeWitte?
Sidewalk salt, street salt, we're polluting our waterways this time of year, and it's come to a head. It's getting to be quite a problem with our waterways throughout Minnesota here, and that's just one of the aspects of it. We've got a lot of runoff going in our ravines and into our waterways, and we need to curtail what we're putting on our lawns and start to step up and be responsible citizens with yard runoff, yard waste. It's a major issue. I think we've got the farm runoff, the farm feedlot issues all curtailed, but we as citizens need to be more responsible in what we're sending to the curb and washing down into the storm sewers and sending into our favorite river, the Minnesota River, which borders our county on 2 sides.
Mr. Dehen?
I agree. Water mitigation and the issues that going along with that are certainly some of the most biggest issues that the county faces as far as protecting the environment. The addition of wetlands and rain gardens and those things to try and capture some of that runoff and those types of pollutants and keep them out of the river themselves are efforts that can be made. I think one of the interesting opportunities that's coming through our area right now is the Summit Carbon Pipeline. There is an effort to create a pipeline that will run from Iowa through Minnesota into South Dakota and up to North Dakota, where they will go to the ethanol plants and the food treatment plants, any place that are big producers of carbon dioxide, capture that carbon dioxide at the plant, liquefy it, inject it into the pipeline, and then transport that to North Dakota, where they can inject it into the ground to be held away from the environment. And those efforts are, they're actually surveying the pipeline now down in Blue Earth County. They believe that carbon pipeline, by taking the carbon out of the atmosphere, will reduce the carbon impact of ethanol below that of what an electric car is. And so that's a $4 billion pipeline, and they're in the process of getting that built now.
Thank you. Now the next question is on the budget, and we're going to change this up so that we'll start with Mr. DeWitte, then Mr. Dehen, and then Mr. Haack. Okay, now this question takes a while to explain. Based on the current information available, Nicollet County will operate on a budget of close to $50,000.
That's
No, 50 million. The period was in the wrong place. The county's vision statement declares that it is committed to providing superior and effective government services through none other than innovations, which translates transform an idea into a service that creates value. How would you balance the county residents' needs for the services with tax burden on the residents? And in keeping with the county's stated commitment to innovation, how would you explain to a constituent that the goods and services provided by the county for the cost of $50 million has created value? Now, basically, what they want to know is, how would you convince a member of the public they are getting value for their taxpayer dollars?
basically, we're saying more bang for the buck.
That's right.
And it's going to be a difficult process. I was studying some county charts this afternoon, and it shows that we have 85 different services within the county that we fulfill. And boy, you're going, boy, we could pluck a couple off of there and make it a little leaner to help us out. And maybe it's about time we've gone into some lean functions in order to obtain our goals that we're trying to obtain here, because $50 million is a lot of expenditure for a county. And I mean, yes, we do have a nice county. We don't have the population that some of the other outlying counties have in this state, but I think we do well for ourselves. We do exceptionally well, and it's going to be a tough one.
So the county's budget is $50 million roughly for the upcoming year. 30% of that is health and human services, which is basically the backstop for the most vulnerable members of our society, both on their health care, their long-term care, those types of things. And those are services that are vital to that group of people, because most of them have difficulty and are unable to provide them services for themselves. So are there some efficiencies there that can be done? Certainly. We can rebid those types of things, but a lot of that's dictated by the state. So that's the biggest chunk of the city's budget, or the county's budget. Next biggest chunk is infrastructure, roads and bridges. That's 23% of the budget. That's an area where hopefully we'll be seeing some injection of additional funds through the American Recovery Plan Act and some of the other things the federal government is doing. But those are important pieces of roads for us. We're looking at the Highway 169 corridor right now. That's a collaborative project between Nicollet County, MnDOT, the City of Mankato, the City of North Mankato, trying to improve that corridor and give us better access to the city as we improve that road. MnDOT will be releasing their structural plan probably within the next 30 to 45 days, which will give us a good idea of where we're going. But there are other additional grant dollars out there that we can use through the Southern Minnesota Initiative Fund and some other options, the Jobs E funds, to try and improve that. And so we look forward to that. And then the last piece of the budget is 16% of the budget is public safety. And again, that's a vital area that keeps all of our citizens and residents throughout Nicollet County safe, especially our outlying residents where they don't have local police. And so another piece of the budget, can we do things to improve with technology? Certainly there's some things there that we can look at, but it's all about trying to find the balance and keep everyone safe.
Mr. Haack.
As Mark stated, a lot of the budget, the larger share of the budget, are health and human services, and that is mandated by the state. You know, the county's hands are really tied. They've got services they got to provide, and you know, whatever the cost is, they got to get those services to the people that need them. And so that's the biggest thing. Law enforcement is another large portion of it. Nicollet County now has taken over a number of years ago the dispatch duties for the entire county, where it used to go through Blue Earth County. So that has increased it a little bit. And then Public Works, of course, highways, they're spending what they need to have done on highways. Some of the highways that they're working on, at least when I was there, were actually state highways that the state wasn't getting to, going through the county, and to keep them safe, we needed to get out and do some work on those also. So we've always looked, when I was there, and I'm sure they still do it to this day, ways that we can streamline things. Little things like with the city of North Mankato, a number of years ago, we went into a joint agreement with them for a chip spreader for seal coating, and also an oil distributor. Something both areas would use. The county might use it for 2 weeks, the city might use it for 2 weeks, and the rest of the time it's sat. So now at least it gets used 4 weeks. So I think there's some other collaborative things we can do with our cities, not North Mankato alone, but with St. Peter, Lafayette, Nicollet, and even some of the townships on collaboration to help bring the budget down slightly.
Thank you. Now we move on to the next number 4, and this time we will start the rotation with Mr. Dehen, Mr. Haack, and then Mr. DeWitte. At both the October and November board meetings, County Attorney Michelle Zender Fisher reported increased substance abuse in Nicollet County, and she was working with law enforcement on the issue. What opportunities do you see for other disciplines to be involved in the efforts to fight substance abuse?
Substance abuse has been a growing problem for not only Nicollet County, but the cities and the state and the nation at whole. There's a lot of efforts being done. There is a settlement out there with the opioid producers, and there are probably going to be some dollars to come back to offset some of those expenses that the county has incurred over the last decade at some point in the future. But we need to continue to be diligent. We've had more overdose deaths in the last year than we've had in the last decade. And so that puts our officers at risk, our citizens at risk, our healthcare providers at risk. And so it's really changed the way that we manage the drug issues. There are task force amongst all law enforcement groups throughout Nicollet and Blue Earth counties. There's collaborative agreements and mutual aid agreements to make those work. And we need to continue to be diligent on that to try and police the issue. And then there's the education side at the schools, and trying to raise awareness with our youth and our user groups to prevent the actual opportunity to even begin utilizing the opioids and the other drugs that are out there, particularly meth and some of those which are gateway drugs to heroin and other things. And so we need to continue to be diligent about that. I know our law enforcement officers work hard to do those things, but this county can support that at a better level. Mental health is a piece of that, and we need to continue to tie all those together in a collaborative effort to really reduce the need and the dependence upon the drugs that are out in our community now.
Mr. Haack.
Okay, I don't know if it's the proper term anymore, but when I was with the county, there was drug courts, and it would get the people that had the problems into a setting where they'd be able to work on their problems and change their life around, and it did work fairly well. I mean, a lot of people were very successful with that, gave them the opportunity to get back into society and put their past behind them and move forward in a positive way. Another thing we did was had a justice committee, which got all the players involved. It was the county board, the sheriff's department, the city or county attorney, the mayors, I think, were invited from time to time. The police chiefs from all the cities were invited. We had people from the state come down, and we kept an open line of communication between all these groups to find out what's really going on out there and what's working for you. If we did something, would that help out making your job easier and get everybody kind of on the same page? And that is kind of, I think that was working out quite well.
And continuing on about the education aspect of this, yes, we do need to get out. We need to reach out to these people and let them know that, hey, you know, there's more to life than doing drugs all your life. And it's just people need help, and we need to step forward and help these people.
Okay, now we're going to take the next question, and it's going to be yes or no. And we'll start with Mr. Haack, Mr. DeWitte, and Mr. Dehen. A North Mankato resident was bitten by a dog while running on a county road just outside the city. The resident required medical attention, and the dog was eventually put down for lack of vaccination. The county has an ordinance on dangerous dogs, but only comes after the dog has acted viciously and was not provoked. Are you willing to work towards requiring vaccination and leash or restraint ordinances as a preventative measure? Yes or no? And we will start with Mr. Haack, Mr. DeWitte, and Mr. Dehen.
That's one of the hardest yes or no questions I've had in a long time, because it's yes to some and no to others. So I guess that's the best I could do.
Okay, Mr. DeWitte.
I would say no. I've just, it's the leash ordinance. People in the country, you know, farm dogs are farm dogs. They tend to run. They're not on a leash. I mean, the only time as a child Grandpa's dog was on a leash is when he was misbehaved, got into the neighbor's chickens or whatever, and then he was on the leash. But otherwise, those dogs ran free in the country all the time.
Mr. Dehen. Yes or no?
I would go with yes and encourage personal responsibility for the dog's owners.
Thank you. Okay, now the next question is going to Mr. Haack, Mr. DeWitte, and Mr. Dehen. Okay, the Mankato Free Press recently reported that County Road 15 road construction looks to be delayed due to property acquisition difficulties. Some property owners have concerns about how the project will affect their property. Beyond current efforts, do you see a way forward? And we're going to start with Mr. Haack.
I'm sure there's a way forward. I think the county's moving forward in the right direction. There's a lot of from what I read in the newspaper, a lot of the residents, or the land has changed hands. They can't find the owner, and how much of that is the holdup, or how much it is with just dealing with current landowners now. So I think they just have to continue moving forward. It's something that needs to be done, and will need to happen.
As the Free Press reported, the county has told them that they are going to practice eminent domain and seize those properties that are in question. My question is, you would think that the families of those properties would step forward and identify themselves as the missing partner, or if mom or dad is deceased now, admit that the property is theirs and that they should assume responsibility for the county so that this road project can go on as planned. It's not like this project just came about overnight. They've had this plan for at least 5, if not 6, 7 years now, this project. So people know where they're coming with this.
I agree. You know, this has been an ongoing project for a long time. Most of the local property owners have had an opportunity to voice their opinion on the character and nature of the changes that are being recommended, all of which is being done with a safety aspect in mind. The absentee ownership problem, I think, has become the bigger issue on this, and that's where the eminent domain comes in. Cities and counties are reluctant to go through that process because it's somewhat of an onerous process to do, and that's why Nicollet County is hiring an outside firm to do it. But a lot of these absentee owners are deceased, their heirs are moved away, may be hard to identify who they are depending on how the family situations have gone and what kind of records were available. And so that's why they've hired an outside firm to be able to continue this project. It's vital as a main thoroughfare for the county to get this road improved. Its pavement is in terrible shape, and so it needs to be done in the near future. It's unfortunate it's going to be delayed probably at least a year because of the eminent domain process and the onerousness of it, but it is a project that I think the county needs to pursue.
Okay. All right, now, this next question, Mr. Dehen will be first, Mr. Haack, and Mr. DeWitte. How would you balance the priorities of the urban part of the county with the interests and issues of the rural areas of the county? Mr. Dehen.
Well, you know, as we mentioned earlier, excuse me, the biggest part of the county's budget is health and human services, and that's irrespective of rural living or urban living. So that part of the county, it's about equity for all of our citizens within the county, and is something that we need to continue to do. Part of the American Recovery Plan Act is being looked at to be utilized for broadband access, so that those more rural aspects of the county will have access to high-speed internet and be able to provide both educational, telehealth, and medical services in that aspect, and also help the businesses out in the rural parts of the county as they continue to compete at a local, county, and even at a global level within the community now. Roads and bridges, again, a major part of the county's budget. Everyone needs and enjoys and requires good roads, both our citizens, our businesses, our farmers, for hauling their goods and services to market. And so, again, that's an area that the county needs to be able to provide those services, whether it's urban or rural. And so, virtually, you know, and similarly with law enforcement and public safety. It doesn't matter if you live in Lafayette or if you live in North Mankato. If there's an issue, you want law enforcement to respond if there's that type of an issue out there, or other public services out there. So, you know, the county needs to provide those same equitable services to every resident within the county, and I think that's the job of the county commission to make sure that that's being done to the best of their ability and within the reasonableness of their budget.
Mr. Haack.
Well, District 3 is unique in a respect that it's entirely within the city limits of North Mankato. District 3 doesn't have a county ditch, doesn't have a county road, you know, so there's items like that you have to be aware of what's going on in the other districts and in the other of the entire county. So you need to be able to work and get help out the other areas of the county and get together, and so everybody works together. So it isn't North Mankato fighting St. Peter and fighting the rural areas. Whatever goes on in the county, regardless of where you represent, you ultimately represent the entire county. So you need to work together, and Nicollet County Board has been, from my knowledge in the past, from when Mayor Dehen's father was on the county board to today, I think that county board gets along and understands the workings together as good as anybody does.
Yeah, so what it basically comes down to, we don't have ditches, we don't have county roads, but we do have the law enforcement, and we do have the human resources. And yes, North Mankato, District 3, is probably the largest tax base of the county as a whole. We do have a lot of agriculture out there. They all pay their fair share. But it's, District 3, we're there. We're all part of the county. And there's sometimes I think, well, jeepers, I never see the Nicollet County Sheriff's Deputy in North Mankato, but they're there. Their presence is known.
For the next question, we'll start with Mr. DeWitte and Mr. Dehen and Mr. Haack. As you know, right now the state and we're all redistricting. So how would you think about redistricting? How would you allow public input into the redistricting decision, which has to be done theoretically by the end of April?
By the end of April.
But some of the census figures were.
Have the citizens of District 3 been approached or asked how they want to conduct this business, or is it all being left on the hands of the county board, or are our friends up in St. Paul going to step in and assist us with this problem? Or
You're answering the question.
I'm answering. I'm asking a question and answering a question. Well, I think the county board should be the ones to make that determination, and that's my feeling there. If they were to rely on the citizens, it may be a long, drawn-out process, and that's just my feelings on it. So, that's where I stand on that, Harriet.
Okay.
Okay. The process will start supposedly by February 15th. The state is supposed to put out their map. The House has provided their map to the Senate or to the legislature, and the Senate has put out theirs. Supposedly, again, by February 15th, they're supposed to extend the map out on a consensus basis. However, that does not appear to be very likely at this time. There are 5 judges hired by the state already to do the arbitration on that. Once the state has come out with their recommendations, it will then go down to the cities, excuse me, and the cities will then look at how the redistricting fits within their borders. There are some rules about landmarks and things that can be used to divide it to ensure that there are equal possibilities, or equal numbers of citizens within each of their precincts. North Mankato has recently got a report on that, so we know where that's at. And after that part is all done, then it is finally up to the county to do the county level, and they're kind of the last say on what's going down underneath the existing process. And so luckily, both North Mankato and the county have enjoyed growth in the last decade. North Mankato about 6%, and I think the county about 4%. So we do have more citizens, and so we will have to redistrict to make sure that there are adequate numbers of citizens in each of the in the areas that are under the census and underneath the redistricting process.
And I guess without repeating everything Mark just said, I would agree with what Mark talked about redistricting. It's just something that will get done when it gets done. It's about what it amounts to.
Okay, the next question, and we'll start with Mr. DeWitte, then Mr. Dehen, and then Mr. Haack again. What are the top 3 issues in Nicollet County at the present time?
At the present time, the top 3 issues. Well, and I had a constituent tell me the other day that he feels law enforcement is number 1. Infrastructure's number 2. Transparency's number 3.
Certainly, COVID remains to be a challenge for the county. Nicollet County has the highest vaccination rate of all the counties in the state, but that continues to be an ongoing issue with the Omicron virus going on now. It requires a lot of effort from the county both its health and human services staff and in its buildings and all the things that are going on with it. The infrastructure bill and its effect going forward with ARPA as far as how it's going to affect roads and bridges, broadband, those are opportunities for the county to move forward. I think that's a great area of opportunity for the county. And I think one of the other issues that the county is concerned about is election integrity. After the 2020 election and all the discussion that's been ongoing there, to make sure that people have, the citizens have confidence in the election process as carried out by the county for all the elections that will be coming up at the end of 2022 going forward is certainly an area that the county has focused a lot of attention on, is planning on doing a lot of public service announcements on and education on to make sure citizens have confidence in our process and the integrity of that process. And I think those are the top three.
I would say infrastructure, law enforcement, and then probably human services.
Thank you. Okay. One more question here, and I lost my rotation here, but we'll just go on. How about Mr. Haack first, Mr. DeWitte, and then Mr. Dehen? Okay, here's the question. What question do you wish we had asked you?
Boy, that's a tough one, because I think I've answered everything that I could think that was going to be asked. I don't know. I think that they've been asked.
I think what leadership skills do I have to offer the constituents of Nicollet County? And it all goes back to growing up and being raised in the Catholic school system and being a Boy Scout, receiving my Eagle Scout Award on the 15th of June in 1971. And, you know, going through that scouting program, a lot of leadership there, learning a lot of leadership skills. Think back of my 40-some years as a union guy and my union positions as a shop steward and the different positions I held at Continental Can, Crown Cork and Seal, and Mankato Activity Committee, and different Kaizen event, going out and doing cost-saving events in other plants throughout the upper Midwest. And it's just, it all goes back to being a leader and being depended upon as by your co-workers and your management team.
Thank you. Mr. Dehen?
You know, I think the question I would have asked was, what are the what opportunities are there for the county in the year ahead? One of the things I'm aware of, and what I mentioned earlier, was the Highway 169 corridor project. As that comes to fruition and the county has impact on that, that's going to dictate the way that corridor runs through Mankato, North Mankato, and into St. Peter for the foreseeable future. And it's a once-in-a-generational type of opportunity, so we want to make sure that we participate in that and do a good job with that. I know that right now, with my involvement in Greater Mankato Growth, they are in the process of conducting, planning for, and will be conducting a Futures 2040 project, which continues our region's rich history of strategic planning, which started in the 80s with Act 2000, went to Envision 2020 in the 2000s, and now they're looking at the 2040s. That'll be done in conjunction with the Destination 2030 project that Minnesota State Mankato is doing, and will help inform where our citizens want to see our communities and counties go forward as they provide for quality of life, workforce attraction, and business attraction in the decades ahead. So that's an important project, and we want to make sure that the county's involved in that. The Carbet Summit pipeline, I think, will be important for our corn growers. I think that's another opportunity for us to participate and really monitor what's going on and how do we make that work for us. And then there's just another opportunity there with the broadband to really reach out to the county and get everybody up to speed so that everyone has the same opportunities throughout the county.
Now that we've run out of questions, It's time for our closing statements. You will each have a minute and a half. And we'll start with Mr. Haack, Mr. DeWitte, and Mr. Dehen. Mr. Haack, would you like to give a closing
Okay, yeah, I'd like to thank you for allowing this forum to be here and to invite us to this. I would just like to say that after serving 3 terms on the county board and having some time off, I realize that there's more I think I could do for the county as a commissioner. I've had the experience as a commissioner for 12 years. I feel there is a learning curve to becoming a commissioner. I think I could step in and move forward a little bit quicker maybe than other folks may be able to. I can't speak for them, but I'd just like the opportunity to continue what I started a while back.
Mr. DeWitte.
I just want to thank the League of Women Voters from St. Peter tonight, Lynn and Harriet, for having us up for their session here. I want to thank these 2 candidates that I'm sitting alongside. They're both excellent individuals, and we're all deserving of the position. And this is just, I sit around and do lunch with the guys 3 days a week, and we talk politics all the time. And I says, you know, here's an opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of it. And so here I am. This is what you get, and this is what I am. And, you know, I could use your vote here in another month when the election comes around. I thank you much.
All right, thank you. I too want to thank all the citizens that are participating and watching tonight. Thank you to the League of Minnesota Women Voters for hosting this and for KTV for broadcasting it. I too want to thank the candidates. We've all have long leadership history. I think mine is more contemporary perhaps, and my level of engagement may be somewhat stronger than my other candidates. But it's about, bottom line, representing the city of North Mankato and the county residents to the Nicollet County Commission to make sure that all of our citizens have the best quality of life that we can provide for them, both through health and human services, public safety, and with infrastructure. Those are the main county functions. And so we just want to make sure that we use those dollars that are available wisely and try and provide, again, the best quality of life that we can, because that's what's going to keep the county continuing to grow and thrive, which will help support the cities and all of our residents and businesses. So thank you for the opportunity tonight. I ask for your vote on February 8th, and look forward to seeing the citizens out and about.
Thank you. This concludes our forum for this evening. I'd like to thank the candidates for sharing their thoughts with us this evening. If we did not ask your question, please contact the candidates individually. And thanks also to KTV staff for recording this for us. This forum will be aired on KTV. Check your schedule for the times. It will also be available online. Access ktv.org, the St. Peter League of Women Facebook page, and on our website, which is www.lwvstpeter.org. The primary election is February 8th, followed by the special election on April 12th.